What's up, everybody? My name is Alex. I am your host here on the Swole Friends podcast, as well as the co-founder and COO here at Swolverine. Swolverine is an endurance athlete and active lifestyle brand. We have over 31 performance powders, as well as daily health supplements that are all proprietary, blend-free, clinically dosed, and scientifically proven effective. So it is a new year, which means a new season of the Swole Friends podcast. Today, I have the honor of welcoming Webb Travis, the owner and co-founder of the popular TURF Newport Beach. He is a very sought after and very well-respected personal trainer in Southern California, as well as known in the fitness industry at large across the country. On top of that, he originally hails from New York. He was in one of the top 1% of all coaches who have ever worked at Equinox. He has quite the story of losing over 100 pounds and who is extremely intelligent with over 2 different masters and a very wide array of training certifications. On this episode of the Swole Friends podcast, I want you guys to get to know Webb in a pretty personal way. The business owner, the father, the fitness professional, the husband, and to really connect to his story so that you can learn how he optimizes his life and his health and his businesses so that you can do the same. We'll dive deep also into business practice, what has made him successful in his personal endeavors, from owning a gym in college all the way to owning a gym now in Newport Beach, as well as how to trust the process and believe in yourself along the way. So Webb, welcome to the show. Hopefully that was enough of an introduction. You have a lot of accolades behind you, but I'll let you kind of fill us in on those. How's your day going?
Thank you for the introduction, Alex, and thank you for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I would have to say that my day is going excellent. It's been great. Had a great morning with my classes, my clients, and just my team in general here at TURF. So I'm actually very happy to take a break from that to do this with you.
That's awesome. I'm really excited to have you. I've wanted you on for a little while now, and I'm like, we finally made it happen, and it's crazy that it's 2023, right? Like, kind of where does time go?
Time flies.
I think we met, when did we meet? 2 years ago at West Coast Classic?
We met at the West Coast Classic in Las Vegas, the regionals. Yeah, I was doing a tent with Compact. So I was one of their educational ambassadors at the time. Yeah. And we chit-chatted and we found each other on Instagram and just kept in contact.
I know, it's awesome. I think I saw you and I was like, the guy's really tall. And then I was like running around trying to get one of our athletes a junk headband because she's like yelling at me from the floor, like the athlete warm-up area. She's like, I need a headband. And I was like, okay. So I'm up there running around and I see you and you're just smiling. You're like, what's up? And I was like, I'll come back in 5 minutes. And, you know, just those awkward run-ins. But I'm really glad we got to connect and to chat about you. And I'm just going to I want to start off like, you have a unique story. You have a very respectable story. We all go through some shit in life, right? Yeah. But all of our stories are unique to us and how we overcame them and how we're, standing here and present ourselves today. I think one of the biggest things about you is that you're a very welcoming person. You're a very educated person. You're also a very, encouraging, soft person as far as what I know. And that's very nice to have in the fitness industry, but you're also not afraid to be like, shut up, put in the work, do it, make it happen. We're getting results and move on, So kind of tell me the story from the beginning. Where did you grow up?
Okay. I hail my attitude and my persona to being a true New Yorker through thick and thin. I was born in the city. My parents lived in the West Village. We lived in the Upper West Side, and then we moved to Westchester County. And then someone got shot on our street. My parents were like, we're out. And then we moved to upstate New York, in a little town called New Lebanon. And my parents had 25 acres up there. And there was more cows than people. So give you a concept of it. And in my family, growing up, I was always just doing yard work around the property, shoveling snow, stacking wood, whatever have you. Mm-hmm. And I had the opportunity to play sports in high school. Then kind of motivated me just to stay on track. I went to college originally as a drawing and painting major. Okay. And about at the end of my freshman year, I realized like, I'm not going to make any money doing this. This is feasible. So I did a pivot. I went into marketing and advertisement towards the beginning of my sophomore year. At the same time, at the end of my freshman year, there was a picture of a bunch of us. We went to Lake Champlain. I went to SUNY Plattsburgh in upstate New York. We were at Lake Champlain for the day, and we saw the Facebook pictures the next day, and I'm like, who's that fat fuck? It's like, holy shit, it's me. And I went into college at like 220 pounds, and at the end of my freshman year, I was 285 pounds.
Okay.
And, it was a lot of binge drinking, a lot of pizza. I played rugby, which was fun. So the weight helped out for the sport.
Yeah.
We were actually state champs and we were undefeated that year. So it was a lot of fun to do that. So keep the athleticism going.
You're really tall, right? Like you're like,
yeah.
6'4". Yeah.
I played second row, which is like the second row of the scrum. I was the number 4 man. And basically we would get locked down. I'd be squished between two fat guys' ass cheeks. And I'd wear this thing called a scrum cap, so make sure your ears don't cauliflower. So I wore that. So I protected my ears all the years of playing rugby. Anyway, at the beginning of my end of my freshman year, I saw how big I was. And so that summer I started working on my buddy, Alan. And to give you an idea of Alan is a Secret Service agent now. Like he was doing one-handed pull-ups in college. He's a meathead and a psychopath, and I love the guy to death. And, he helped me teach how to call myself my own shit and call other people on their own shit. And he taught me that nothing matters. There's no excuse. The excuse is whatever you create. And I was able to lose about 30 pounds that summer with him. And then it continued into the fall where there was an opportunity to become a trainer at the gym, at the college gym, because someone didn't come back. And Alan was a supervisor. So he's like, hey, interview, your first one's with me, get your foot in the door, and we'll take it from there. So I interviewed, got the job, and then they paid for my certification, had to start taking nutrition classes, started really getting involved into it. Fast forward to the end of my sophomore year, I was really loving life. I actually did a fitness competition, did the Mr. Plattsburgh Classic, and I took third. I got down to 185 pounds from when I was 285. So that was really cool from my aspect. Got to like 3 or 4% body fat. I felt really weird and really tan.
You get like chicken skin. Like,
oh my God, it was so crazy. And the macros and the water and the salt, it was this crazy things we do to our body, but it was very educational at the same time.
Yeah.
Anyway, fast forward, end of my junior year, I added kinesiology as my second degree. I really started to fall in love with it. I had an amazing program director. His name was Ken Baldwin. He used to be the president of ACSM.
Yeah.
And before that, he was like Boston Personal Trainer of the Year, and he was the strength coach for the New England Patriots. And he became a good mentor for myself. And towards the end of my super senior year, I did 5 years of undergrad because I was a double major.
Little victory lap.
All good. And they don't have to twist my arm. College is fun. I was his teaching assistant and had the opportunity to go to Canada with him, go to Miami, do some travel, intern under him, and definitely learned a lot and met a lot of cool people in the process, which led me to stay for college for 1 more year. I got my master's in business. And after I finished that, it was a 2-year program. I finished it in 1 year.
Wow.
I had the opportunity to work for Equinox. In the same process of doing that, before Equinox, I actually started my own side personal training business outside of the college gym, rented a small studio, which led to taking over the studio next door, which led to taking over the whole building. And we had 20 trainers and like 500 members, and it was a lot of fun. And I sold it, and it paid for all my undergrad loans and my graduate loans. So it was awesome. And then I ended up at Equinox. I was there for almost just shy of 9 years. Right away, became one of the top performers in the first 3 months of my location at Scarsdale, and went on to become, I think my first year was like number 20 in the company out of like 3,000 trainers. And I kept working at it and became the number 1 instructor, number 1 trainer. They created an award for me called the Fusion Award, which was top productivity in both personal training and group fitness combined.
Wow.
I created classes for Equinox. I became a master educator, so I trained the trainers. I helped with the EFTI, which is the Equinox Foundation Training Institute. I helped them with the business aspect of teaching trainers how to build business. And it was started as a beta group of like 4 trainers, became 10, became 12. And then one of my last seminars in New York was of a couple hundred trainers for Equinox. And then I had the opportunity to move to California, and I never looked back. And I'm very happy and blessed to be here. California is very entrepreneurial mindset, and work with a lot of my clients who are entrepreneurs themselves, and working under Equinox, it started to get to the point towards the end where I was being micromanaged for little things like, you can't have this coffee on the floor. Where's your name tag? I just been here since 5 a.m. and already done 10 sessions for you and still got 3 more to go. I think I need a cup of coffee.
It's going to be okay, guys.
It's gonna be okay. But little things like that started to happen. And then they started doing some poor customer service, in my opinion, to some of my clients. And it just came time to part ways. And I was actively looking for a place. I converted our garage into a training studio, invested about $40,000 of rogue equipment. So the flooring, the rigs, the dumbbells, the kettlebells, the fan bikes, the ski machines, everything. And so I did that for about 2 years until the opportunity of turf came about. I found a building, a gym that was actually here for 30 years called Newport Workout. Wow. And the owners were both well into their early 70s, and they laid their slate, they laid their path, and they were ready to move on. So I became friendly with them, and a few cups of coffee later, it's turf. And now when we took over, there was just shy of 100 members and 10 trainers. We now have 40 trainers, and we just broke 1,200 members of people that come and turf on a regular monthly basis.
Congratulations.
So, and that's been in a year and 3 months now. Yeah.
That's a beautiful progression. That's a very respectable progression. I mean, anyone who knows starting a business, starting a gym, going through school, having debt, having some sense of self within that, it's hard.
Yeah, that sucks. But don't let it hold you back.
Absolutely. And I think like you mentioned, excuses are what you create them to be, right? You said that. And it's just like, yeah, you had some good mentors. Yeah, you were positioning yourself really well, right? But at the same time, it really comes down to who you are in the shadows and what you're willing to do when no one's looking, right? And that's what's going to set you apart in a lot of ways that people don't necessarily recognize or are willing to respect or do. You know what I mean? When nobody gives a shit and they don't care what's going to happen, they don't see the dream that you see, and they don't see what you're doing. That's when you have to believe in yourself the most, and that's when it's hardest, right?
Absolutely.
So let's
I had a manager who will remain nameless for his protection. He was an area manager, and he was very big on micromanaging me. And at the time, I was teaching like 13 or 14 group fitness classes a week, all of which were full. But I was also doing like 160 to 200 training sessions a month.
Wow.
So I was doing minimum 4 sessions a week. And he saw it as like, those are 12 sessions or 14 sessions you could do in training instead of doing classes. I was like, okay, well, the reality is I get paid double to teach a class. So it's more financially benefit for myself. Plus, here's a list of my clients. I had 27 clients at one point. I'm like, of the 27, 16 of them I got from teaching group fitness classes. And so they were training me 2 to 3 times a week and then doing my group fitness classes, which was part of the program I created for them. I was like, so tell them how am I wrong in this sense? How am I not doing what's best for the client? I'm like, isn't that the goal? And it got to a point where it got heated, where we actually ended up getting the COO and the president of the company involved. And we all had a big meet and greet in the city, in New York City and Manhattan out of it. And it turned into leave Webb alone, let him keep doing his thing. And that was it.
Yeah. So. Well, and too, like a lot of people, I think when they micromanage, they're either like intimidated by your potential. They don't, aren't willing to respect the process or kind of like your mental process of what you do and how you do it. Yeah. And then there's also like the idea of like, oh, well, this is how we've always done it. We need to do it that way. And you have somebody who like comes in and like shakes the salt shaker and it's like different and way better. and that's hard for people, Yeah. Do you feel like you've always kind of had that confidence to stick up for what you believed in, or is that something, little Webb as a, 7-year-old child was like, no, I'm going to do what I want. Like, or is that something you over time?
My parents definitely said I was very strong-willed. And at the same time, if you were to ask my wife, like if she's seen where I've grown up and I've had not skeletons per se, but I had an interesting upbringing. And some people are like, how did you come from that? And all this happened. I had a lot of things that kind of went against me. Just financial stability at first growing up. Like my parents were not wealthy by any shape or form. My mom worked from home and worked in a restaurant, and we had a part ownership of the restaurant at one point, but then my mom sold her portion of it. I wish she didn't, but it is what it is. My dad was just a contractor and a welder. He had a pacemaker. And so he was limited to do certain jobs because of the health risk that it put him at. He used to work for GE back in the day. And then they got all these nuclear reactors in the thing. And so my dad had to stop working there because of his pacemaker. They're like, you're a liability, you have to go.
Wow.
So a little settlement later, but still would put him out of work for a while. And it was just kind of hard for a hot second. I grew up in a trailer and went from the trailer to a pop-up camper for a little bit. And I was camping for like 2 years in kindergarten and first grade. I wasn't allowed to tell my friends at school. I wasn't allowed to have friends over because my parents didn't want anyone to know how we were living. And my dad made an outhouse for us. And whether it was 2 feet of snow outside or middle of summer, a thunderstorm, you go to the bathroom, that's where you went. Down the path in the woods and into the outhouse. It did not smell nice, but it got the job done. And there was a built-in hose / outdoor shower that my dad made for us. So a lot of that I learned at a young age. You just kind of have to persevere and just push through things. My dad, while he was very creative and resourceful, he had a drinking problem and a little bit of a drug problem. He loved his pot, and which I didn't actually realize until I was in college and found a lot of things out later. I guess like not until you remove yourself from the situation, you come back and you start to be more observant. You're like, oh, this has been going on. My dad, unfortunately, when I was 20, it was July 6th. I was like, just got back from working a bartending shift. I bartended in college as one of my other jobs while being a trainer. I got a phone call. I was calling from my mom at like, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. I pick up the phone. I'm like, why are you calling me? I'm like, hello. And like, my mom's in a panic, or my brother's in a panic on the phone first. And he was like, dad's dead. I'm like, what are you talking about? Dad's dead. I'm like, put mom on. And so I started talking to my mom, and she was like crying and hysterical. And basically my dad, we found out towards the end that he was terminal with cancer. He developed the arteriosarcoma, which in his liver, and it spread to his lungs and his kidneys. And he was like puking, pissing, shitting blood, went to the hospital a few times and didn't really tell anyone about it. And they basically gave him weeks to live. And so my dad decided to commit suicide. And unfortunately, my mother and my brother found him. And I was beside myself. I'm like, all right, I'll be there as soon as I can. I was 3 hours away. So 1 o'clock in the morning, I get in my Subaru. The Subaru wagon had like 200,000 miles on it. And at like 1:30 in the morning, just outside of Lake Placid, it decided to die.
Oh, no.
It broke down at like 1:30 in the morning in a dead cell zone. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And I remember I waited around and for 20 minutes, no cars came by. I had no cell service. So I just took my phone and I started running down the I-95 until I finally got cell service. And then I called 911 and I was at this mile marker before the Lake Placid sign, blah, blah, blah. Please send the help. My dad committed suicide. I hung up the phone and I ran back to the car and waited for like an hour. One truck drove by and I tried to wave them down and they didn't stop. And fast forward to about an hour later, still no one came. I decided to run again. So then I ran again, called 911 when I got cell service. And I was like hysterical at this point. I'm like, you guys literally have to send someone. Like, my car is broken down. I can't get a tow. I can't get a hold of anyone. I have no service where my car is at. I'm literally on the highway. You can't miss me. It's a giant red Subaru. And fast forward, a state trooper came, and the troopers were like, you won't get a tow truck at this hour. He's like, but the cop that was the police officer was there was really nice. He's like, I'll be back in less than a half hour. My shift's finishing up. I'll come back and I'll flat tow you back to Plattsburgh and we can take it from there. So we did that. At this point, it's like 4 a.m. I text my roommate from college who lives down in Albany, like 2.5 hours south of where I was, told him, and he woke up at 6 and he's like, I'll be there. So he drove up, picked me up around 8:30, and then we turned around and we drove back down to my hometown, which was 3 hours south of Plattsburgh. And he got me home and I saw my mom, my brother, and we were not allowed to go to the house. It was a mess. So they were patching a wall, repainting everything, throwing stuff out, just getting rid of everything. And it was hard. It was definitely a hard time. And my brother and my mom were a wreck. And so my mom was supposed to be like managing the restaurant. So I took her shifts and I became the assistant manager for the summer, and I did all the bookkeeping, and we had my dad cremated, and we had like a small open house at our house, and I had some friends from like Long Island drive, and people from the city drive up for it. And it was very nice of them to do that. I didn't really advertise it. but word of mouth traveled around because my one roommate told some of my other friends and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
I took care of everything. And then fast forward, I went back to school. My brother was just becoming a senior in high school, and he was like top of his class, like salutatorian, lined up to be top performing soccer athlete, running like sub 5-minute miles in track. Like my brother was a stud.
Yeah.
And he like took his SATs and got like a near perfect score and like didn't study. I'd study my ass off to get a B plus, and like school came easy to my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And, he just stopped caring, and it was really hard. And all of us went through a hard time for the next couple of years. And to this day, it's still, here we are 14, 15 years later, there's still some tension and some lack of communication between me and my younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the process of it all, my dad passing, I found out I have an older half brother that I didn't know about. And his wife reached out to me, and we connected. I went and met him, and like same voice, same height for the most part, same mannerisms. We both look almost identical to our dad. And my younger brother looks just like my mom. So it was kind of uncanny how much that me and Josh, my older brother, have in common.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something good that came out of it. But in the process of all of it, I went back to school that fall, and I was kind of hesitant to do it. And I drank my face off and didn't go to class and almost got kicked out. And I also turned 21 that fall, and it was the week of my 21st birthday when I had like my I got to get my shit together moment.
Mm-hmm.
I like woke up next to the toilet, covered in vomit, blood on my head. Don't remember how I got there. Apparently I went downtown. Apparently I came back home. Don't remember leaving the house. Don't remember going to the bar. There's videos and pictures. I was there for 2 hours. Couldn't recollect any of it. And I was like, okay, I gotta stop. And so I did. I told my boss at the gym, I was like, hey, give me more shifts. I started focusing on training more outside clients in the small, then that's what led me to renting the small space. It was really a 300 square foot little like room in the building. And I told my other boss, who I bartended for at the place called the Green Room, and told my boss, I'm like, hey, just give me whatever you got. He's like, well, you could bartend on this night, but he's like, I don't have anything else. I'm like, well, what do you got? He's like, I could have you bar back. I could bounce. I'm like, I'll do any of it. And so I started working like 6-7 days a week, really focusing on school because I was a double major anyway. And like pulled my act together with like a month left in the semester to like pass all my classes, and talked to all my professors individually and told them about my dad. And I probably should have told them that ahead of time, but they gave me some grace, and I told them like the spring semester, you'll see a difference. Like this, let me make up some work. Let me do all the stuff. And everyone gave me a little slack. And with that, it's kind of like a pay it forward method now. Like I always want to help out people that are in need, and whether it's a client or just a new trainer or whatever have you, everyone deserves a second chance in some shape or form, or they deserve to be heard. And I think that's what has helped set me into becoming a personal trainer and entrepreneur and wellness professional. And I want to see people thrive and find the best version of themselves, regardless of the shit that they've dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely. And those experiences shape you, and you always have a choice of like, is this going to harden me, or is this going to build me? Is this going to stop me? Is this going to, and you got to have that kind of, I call it like the epiphany, like where you're like, oh shit moment, where you're just like, what's going to happen next? And sometimes you get yourself in situations like you're saying where, you're blacking out and you're doing your thing, and like you are actually physically putting yourself in danger and can really lose yourself down that path. And, to also kind of capitalize on what you said, and I talked about this with Matt Torres yesterday about coaching elite level CrossFit athletes, is the fear that people have, and I've been there too, and you had it too, but the fear of going to people and sharing your story and asking for help.
Yeah.
And even if it's not even just asking for help, just telling them what's going on.
Yes.
I remember there was a bunch of shit that happened in college, kind of similar. And, you're so scared to go to your professors because you're afraid of what's going to change thereafter. So much has already changed. So much bad stuff has happened, or, whatever has happened. And you're like, one more thing that happens, one more thing that changes. I don't know if I could do it. And so I'm just going to like put my head to the grindstone and see what happens. But then you end up grinding yourself so far down. But by the time you go to those people, a lot of them will take grace on you, but a lot of them won't.
Yeah.
and like with the athletes we were talking about yesterday, it's like, I'm afraid of telling them that my knee hurts because I'm afraid my programming is going to change. I'm afraid I'm going to have to take a step back. I'm afraid, in college, I have to redshirt, or like yourself, like I have to, you know, not be here anymore and literally get kicked out. And it's like, it's very humbling experience. And you only have to go through it like a time or two to realize like, this is actually a power. It's not something to be feared or something to be afraid of,
Yeah. I had
Um,
that opportunity, not last year, year before. I teamed up with Frazier. I was on his early HWPO team, and
awesome.
me, Jake Marconi, and there's a few others of us, and Eric, who was his videographer. We're all like the early birds, and we helped out with some of the programming and just like doing the classes. So we were at Madison for the games, and at the Big Great Dane CrossFit Gym. Love that place. Super cool place. And um, I just remember just being in awe, like all the things that led to here. And then even cooler, I got to meet Sarah, Sigma's daughter, and I was like, holy crap, like you're real. You're not in the games kicking ass. And I had the opportunity to talk to her for like 20 minutes and like, how's your recovery going? Like, what's been the hardest thing? And she full out said, like, I think the hardest thing, piggybacking what you said, is just accepting that you have to take that step back so you can take that huge leap forward. And she's like, once you are able to swallow that and swallow your pride and then put your nose to the grindstone after the fact, it gets easier. So,
Oh, very, very well said. I love that. It's so true. So true. Let's talk. So, I mean, kind of timeline wise, when did you meet Casey? If for those of you guys who don't know, Casey is this radiant woman who Webb is married to. Let's kind of talk about your guys' love story and how that came about.
So it's a very funny story, I guess you could say, at least. So here's a background on Casey. My wife did CrossFit. She was a collegiate rower, so she's good at a 2K. Just suck. Casey grew up here in Newport Beach. Her family's actually originally from Anaheim. She went to Boston University for rowing. She lived in New York for a second. However, we met here. I came out here with the opportunity to work for Equinox. They transferred me here. And one of the reasons I came out here initially was I developed and created a rowing class for Equinox called Ropes and Rowers. It was actually a Men's Health 2015 Toughest Class of the Year award, all that fun stuff. And so I was out here doing the West Coast launch, had the opportunity to move here, and I'll tell you more about that story in a minute. But fast forward to Casey. Casey came in to cancel her membership at Equinox. And they're like, well, you're a rower. They're like, please don't cancel it. Well, if you do cancel, you still have 30 days to still use the facility. So you're canceled, but you still get to use the classes. So while you're here, why don't you go try this guy's rowing class? She's like, rowing class? She's like, yeah, he's from New York, high energy. You'll like it. And so she came in. She was 5 minutes late, which is a running joke. She came in. She kicked ass. In the class itself, there was 2 or 3 rounds, depending on what it is. The first round, it was a 4-minute all-out pull, and if you're the top rower, like you'd get your name on the board kind of deal. And I remember she pulled like 1,200 meters or something in 4 minutes, and I was like, dude, what the hell? And like, I think it might have been more. I think it might have been like 1,400, like something astronomical. And like the next, like the guy got like 1,000. So I was like, shit, got it. And then she left class early. I'm like, who was that? Who was that girl? Who was that woman? And the next day I saw her in the gym, and she was on the hip abduction machine doing her in and out. And I walked over like, hey, you were the rower yesterday. And she was like, oh yeah, you're the instructor. I was like, yeah, I'm a trainer here now. I was like, how do you like the class? And she's like, oh, it's good. And we chit chat. She's like, I'm canceling my membership. I'm like, well, I'm a new trainer here. Like, would you help me out? Like, I'll give you 2 free sessions. Just let me train you, and people can see that I'm training people. And if you like me, cool. If you don't, hey, at least get 2 free sessions out of it. She's like, all right, let's try it. And I kicked her butt. She loved it. She bought a 24-pack, and she decided not to cancel her membership.
Okay.
And fast forward, it's probably like 3 or 4 months later, we just started hanging out more than training. And I remember I was stretching her, and I had her hands behind her head. I was doing this, and she was literally like, you know what? I think I'm going to marry you. And I was like, what?
Damn, crazy.
Yeah, but I operate differently. I was like, okay. I was like, should we like date first? And she's like, yeah, we can do that. So we started dating, and we started hanging out. And I guess you could say we moved pretty fast, but I'm happy as a clam. It's been great. We started dating in like April of May, technically. May, we made an official date in May, but I think we started dating in like March, April 2016. We got engaged in July, and then we got married in December of 2016.
I love it.
It was good. It was a lot of fun. And I have 2 awesome step kids. William he's 14 now, and Charlotte is 13. So we have 2 teenagers, which there's no books on that. There's books, but they're bullshit. They don't tell you anything.
Bullshit books.
They're bullshit books. All right. Some author made it so some idiot parent like myself would buy it and they read it like, they don't know that the kids are always changing. They hurt your feelings. They're sweet with you and then they crush your heart in the same minute. But they're great. They're awesome. William is a freshman in high school now. He goes to a school called Modern Day. They have a renowned basketball, football, baseball program. He just did the freshman basketball year and he did good. He's like, I don't think it's my sport. I'm like, that's fine. He's very athletic. I'm like, we'll work with a trainer at my gym in the off season and we'll figure it out for next year. And Charlotte has always been a very creative one, like painting and drawing and music and writing. And she has better handwriting than any adult I've ever seen. Fast forward to, she found her calling of volleyball because she would do a handball all the time at lunchtime with her friends. And fell into volleyball, and she's on the momentous under 13 travel team now, and she's crushing it. And she's a libero, and she loves it. And this is her second year, and she's thriving. So I'm happy to see them both doing sports because we all know what sports do to you. It teaches you camaraderie, how to be accountable, how to help others, how to lift yourself up, and recognize that there is no I in team. You can be a better version of yourself, but you have to be better for everyone around you. And I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Minus the early mornings driving to God knows where.
Yeah, I was going to say minus like kind of the practice hour.
Tournaments, I don't care about the drive-ins. It's the tournaments in the middle of nowhere. You're like, dude, got to be there 7 a.m. That means we got to leave by like 5:45 on a Sunday. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and volleyball is hard. I mean, I remember being in volleyball, and the thing I looked forward to least was like just laying around until the next game. Like it was like, oh boy.
Yeah. But they just had their tournament recently. They just won the Winter Regional Classic. So her team was undefeated and won the whole thing.
That's so awesome. That's got to be so fun.
Speak of the devil.
Wait, who is it?
It's Casey.
Casey. Hi. Hi. Welcome to the show.
Say hi.
Well, that is pretty cool. So what do you feel like is like, I mean, a lot of things have shaped you to be a business owner. A lot of things have shaped you to be a trainer. What do you think in your life has shaped you to be a father?
I think it was just, again, having the opportunity growing up where I grew up. You just had to do things for yourself all the time. And like I had chores all the time, no matter what. Fast forward to work in the restaurant. Just again, you have obligations and things you have to do. And then when my dad passed, like having to step up and help take care of my mom and my younger brother. And when I was in college, I was a resident assistant for a year. And on top of that, after I was an RA for a year, all the kids on the floor became my good friends. And I became the house parent where we all lived off campus. There were 16 of us. And I handled all the bills. I collected everything because I was the oldest one and I guess the more responsible of the group. And I would just handle everything that way. I've always been someone that always wants to kind of take charge and make sure that everything's being planned accordingly and followed through.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so I mean, it's almost like managing people, but then like you're saying, realizing that like they change even more so than like an employee, right? Because they're growing through it. I have a couple nieces and
teenagers are funny and good.
Yeah, it's insane, man. Like, I don't know. I think back to when I was a teenager, and I think it's hard with social media and phones and like the constant like keep up. Like, I mean, I thought it was going to be a team without it, but I don't know. You know, that's a whole nother can of worms. But let's talk about TURF. Tell me about the emergence of TURF. Tell me about core mission, vision, values. Talk to me about deliverables. What are you guys doing? How are you changing the industry, and how do you set yourself apart?
So TURF started, I always had an idea of TURF anyway growing up. Like when I was at Equinox, towards the end, I'm like, I want to open my own gym. And like I was actually training Casey on the basketball court. And one day she was like, what is Amazon and what are all the places? Come on over here.
Sorry, I have like a very limited time to say. I asked him, what do Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, what do all these companies have in common? And and he said, what is that? And I said, they all started in their garage. So let's get you out of here. Let's get you out of Equinox and let's get you into our garage and let you keep the money that you deserve, because people were paying Equinox $150 an hour, and he was getting $40 of that. And the experience he was providing, Webb just doesn't fit in a corporate box. And
my thighs are too big.
No, he's a leader naturally, and it was very challenging to see him thrive there, but also not be rewarded, and to have so many restrictions placed on him as a leader. So I think that it was natural for him, and we always knew that he was going to have something of his own in order to build community, to share his vision. He's created a family of trainers and of clients that you can't buy, that no branding can buy. It takes someone with a big heart and a clear vision to generate that. And over the last year and a half, what he's done in this building is pretty incredible. And the kind of people who are part of that, whether it's trainers or clients, there's truly a cohesive energy here that he's become a leader in our community. So I think that I would imagine your vision was to obviously create a place where people can achieve their fitness goals. But what he does here and what the trainers and coaches do here is so much more than that. And creating positive impact in people's lives through physical movement, but also through emotional change, learning new habits, creating a place where people feel welcomed, in a place where people are able to achieve small things in their life that, initially are physical, but can translate to things that are even bigger in their own personal relationships and in their business. So it's been really cool to see the level of people that he's been able to impact as well, from young athletes, college athletes, up to people in their 60s and 70s who thought, they'd never get out of the wheelchair. I mean, the diversity of client base here at our gym is really incredible as well. And I think that's something else that's really special, is because Webb has such a diverse life experience. Having gone through some tragedies early on and having a lot of responsibility put on his shoulders, he really has a deep love for humans and for people and seeing the best for everyone. So he makes the opportunity available for people of all ages, all fitness levels, all income backgrounds to have access to fitness and to have access to information and knowledge that really allows them to make huge changes. So it's been beautiful to watch him do that. Unfortunately, the growth of the business means we have very little time together.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
We do a good job of trying to at least once a quarter escape. We're blessed that her parents have a second home in Northern California, and we go there and it's very peaceful and good mindset and sunsets and walks on the beach, and just get the rest we need and allows us to also do work uninterrupted. So.
Yeah. Sundays are our special day, but he's a special guy. He's done a really cool thing here, and I have a meeting in like an hour, so I have to go.
I'm glad you hopped in though, Casey. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
It's like, I feel like if Casey didn't pop in, honestly, it would be like not a true representation of you guys.
Yeah. I literally read a note that says, I only have 1 hour. I need to do my workout. I'm a real estate broker, and I love exercise. And I met Webb at Equinox. He was my trainer.
I told her the story.
But I also have a business, and I have 10 agents under my license, and we do residential commercial real estate, and just drop the kids off at school. So there's so many things in a true entrepreneur's life that they have to pack in. So sorry to leave. I'd love to be a part of more of this, but I probably would also do all the talking, so I'll leave.
Go Sweat.
Okay.
Bye. Not making me look bad.
Go have an amazing day. And you guys, so Webb, if you pop on Webb's Instagram, it's Webb Travis PT. So go look at it. And Casey, you guys are just like I don't know, you can just tell that like the love is super genuine and the prioritization, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit here and gas you up, but it is kind of a breath of fresh air to see like your guys' loyalty and commitment to yourselves, while also your loyalty and commitment to seeing one another become the best version of themselves. And I think that that's a really unique partnership, especially with Casey being a very accomplished and well-respected entrepreneur herself. It's not also very common that you get to be an entrepreneur with your partner, and let alone a successful one. And there's like a whole set of challenges that come along with that, you know?
Absolutely. I'll rewind to TURF. The biggest thing that I love that I actually helped create the core principles with a bunch of trainers, a bunch of our coaches. I try to do some team bonding event somehow, some way, like once a month. Like we've gone to a Pilates class together and we've laughed our asses off because half the people are not mobile or flexible.
Yeah.
I actually used to teach Pilates in college, mat Pilates, funny enough. So I held my own until they had us do some weird thing on the reformer. My leg was up. I was like, this is astronomical, dripping sweat and shaking like a salt shaker. It was just sad and funny at the same time. Anyway, working with some of my other coaches, our core principles at TURF is to dream big, great community, embody culture, exceed expectations, make it or break it. Every time you're with a client, it's a make it or break it moment. All right. Whether you're in public, you're at home, like seize the day, make it or break it. Collaborate without an ego. I don't care how many people you trained. I don't care how many certifications you have. Can you come in here and be a team player? Can you come in here and work well with others? That's literally the biggest thing that all my coaches here at TURF have. They are able to collaborate without an ego. And last but not least, maximize your results for our clients and for yourself. So, all right, from your mental health, your physical health, your personal life, spirituality, everything. And that is what is the pillars and the core principles of TURF.
Absolutely. And being able to implement those types of core values and visions and missions, they're the things that you can anchor to when the storm gets pretty heavy, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times in business, people, I just overlook it. You know what I mean? And I had to be taught that when we started the company was, you know, my business partner came to me and he's like, we got to make these things. And I was like, why? You know, and it's just part of it. And when you can do that, then you can also teach others and really say like, look, this isn't emotionally based. These are what we have. And you're making it, or you're, to use your words, making or breaking it with yourselves and with this community and this, you know, level of professionals. And, what do you think are some of the most challenging things that you have faced, whether in TURF or otherwise, as far as business structure, as far as ownership, COVID? I mean, I don't know kind of what you've gone through there. But
COVID was funny because I was ahead of the game. I was training people in my garage from 2018, like end of 2018. And while we were actively looking for places, we were in escrow like 4 different times in different buildings in the area. But then it came down to getting the CUP. It wouldn't get approved for the use, or there was too much improvement, TI improvements that I was gonna have to do that I'm like, this is blowing through the budget. We can't do this. When COVID happened, everyone went digital. So I went digital as well for the time being, but bodyweight workouts suck, especially for your clients that they don't have equipment. So I have a buddy who works for Perform Better. I got a hold of my good friend Bobby, and he's like, hey, Bobby Henley, how you doing? Bobby, I need dumbbells. I need to get the whole dumbbells. He's like, well, the only way I can get them is if you buy them by the freight. Great, let's do it. What's the minimum order? So literally I was ordering 2,000 pounds of dumbbells at a time, to the point where it came in total, I think we sold over 15,000 pounds of dumbbells out of my garage, because I was selling to clients, friends of friends, family members, community. Like literally I was a dumbbell drug dealer.
The TD down the road.
Back of the truck, throw in the back of their car, and they're give me the cash and they run. And so literally I'd have these freight trucks come once a month that just drop off dumbbells, kettlebells, bumper plates, barbells. And I was just selling it to my clients and their friends of friends. And literally like half of the town got equipment because of me. Because you couldn't get it. So anyway, so fast forward, that helped build a community. Before that, I was volunteering at my kids' school as their PE teacher 3 days a week, because I guess they had budget cuts at a public school, so they didn't have a PE teacher on those days. And so the teacher made them run laps around the playground, and that's all they were doing. I'm like, this is boring. So I came in, did soccer and captured a flag and tag or whatever have you. Anyway, the hardest thing was pivoting out of COVID, going and just looking for a building space, because there's so many things that go into opening a gym that people don't think about. And I've had the opportunity of helping other people open up their own gyms or become freelance independent contractors. So many people from Equinox reach out to me during 2020 where I'm like, here's my attorney, my client who can help you get your S Corp or your C Corp set up. Or if you want to do an LLC, if you and your husband and wife want to do it together, you can do it that way. People are here in California. Here's my client, Joel. He's my tax accountant. He'll help you figure out how to do the finances for this properly. How to do your taxes properly as a 1099 independent contractor. I connect them to Bobby Hanley. I'm like, you have to order stuff in bulk. See if your clients need to have equipment. And I just gave them training program templates. Like, hey, here's the templates that I've used. You can go on your own and start your own way. Here's the blank copy of my own customer agreement with my clients. Here's my contact for trainer insurance that you need. So I just helped all those people get established. But none of that was hard. The hardest part was just finding a space. Once you find the space that checks all the boxes, it was effortless. I think the biggest thing that made it easy was taking over a previous gym that they'd been here. Newport Workout was here for 30 years. It was the gym in Newport Beach. And literally everyone, their mother and even their grandmother at some point has trained at Newport Workout. And they, like, everyone knew Mike and Mona. They were excellent people. They were amazing human beings. Mike was a competitive cyclist, outdoor cyclist, and Mona was Miss California Masters, like 7 years running.
Wow.
57. So the gym was different color scheme than I would have chose. It was like gray and reds and blacks and bright yellows. a lot of
like a big hot dog.
Oh, like McDonald's. I was dying.
Sorry. I've never seen
ballpark hot dogs. Anyway, it was a lot of machines and so much space, but just so many things in it. I had like 4 or 5 hamstring machines, like 3 different kinds of quad machines. I was like, we don't need all this stuff. There's a lot of functional space. There's a lot of opportunity here in this space. You can get more trainers in here if you had less stuff. And so anyway, after taking it over, having the CUP already in place, building a team was the next fun part. Just finding the right people. And I didn't have to really look too far. People knew who I was and they reached out and they're like, hey, my friend told me about you and said you're looking for take on some trainers. And I am so blessed and happy that we have the coaches that we have. And it's been an amazing roller coaster ride. And even when it's like at a high point or a low point, it's still fun. And the things that are people complain about, I'm like, that's whatever. It'll pass in a moment. It's not going to matter in 5 minutes. Like a headache that happened yesterday was my 5:30 a.m. desk associate called out sick at 5:30. And I'm like, but he texted me at 5:30, but I didn't see the text until 5:50 when I was finishing with a client about to teach my 6 a.m. class. I was like, okay, checking people in, doing this, getting things up, making sure the mic's on, Bluetoothing my phone. Shoot, where the heck is the box of bands? I don't remember where I put it. It was fine. And then everyone survived. I did towel runs. My wife came in and helped out for a minute and busy schedule. If that's the hardest part of my day and my week, I'm doing great.
Yeah, I like that. And there's just going to be bumps and things and unexpected things. And it's kind of just like, okay, do you have your plans and processes in place so that you can fall back on them? And then when, at what point do you kind of just recognize like that I have this, I can do this, we can make it happen, and be willing to step in. Oh man, this is a big one. I'm not going to soapbox on it, but I think with a lot of owners, regardless of business, they don't want to step in and do the job when they need to.
If you're not willing to do the job, you shouldn't be the owner.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I said it.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, I once a month at least, if not twice, every other month, like we do a deep clean where like me and the trainer, like we're lifting up equipment, we're getting underneath, scrubbing stuff, getting all the dust out, getting the chalk off the bars. Like we do a deep clean, and it's just pride and ownership. And if you as the owner can't handle that, you need to find the right general manager that will love it the way that you should.
Yes.
But if this is just a hobby and it's not a passion, you shouldn't do a gym.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely agree with that. And that very important piece to pull out of that, if you find someone who loves it the way you should and be willing to put in that work and step in and do the tough shit and do the stuff that's like not even tough, but like you're never too good for it. Like we always talk around here, like I am never too good to clean a toilet, clean the floor, go get coffee. Whoops, we forgot to order paper. Like I don't even know. Take a meeting that somebody else misses. Like you're never too good for that. Obviously, that you want to like expand your skills and apply yourself where you can be applied, right?
Yeah.
Best, but at the same time, like you're just never too good for it. And I think especially in the gym setting.
I think growing up in the restaurant Fresco's, I remember orders a stack. It was a Italian pizzeria. It was a stone brick wood fired oven, and like on a Friday night in the summer, we had indoor and outdoor dining, and we'd have 10 servers, and literally all at once we get 10 orders at once, and it'd be anywhere from 1 to 4 pizzas per table, and the pizza oven only fits 3 pizzas, maybe 4 at a time, depending on how good you are. Granted, the pizza oven is hot; it's like 800 to 1,000 degrees, so it takes like 2 to 4 minutes to cook a pizza. So you're like in there turning a pizza, a coal sparks, and it lands in your hand. You're burning your hand. There's orders stacked across the thing. There's a stack of orders on the ledge waiting to be put up into the queue, and like doing that job literally prepared me for life, because every other job I've had after that is easy. All right. Hey, the toilet's clogged up. All right, I'll run in and unclog the toilet. Unclog the toilet. Hey, we don't have any pizza dough. I'm really fast at rolling pizza dough. I'll be right back. Hold the fort down. I'm like, I already prepped you 5 pizzas to go. I'll be back in like 5 minutes, and just go. Everything else I've done in my life is easy. Working in the restaurant prepared me for everything else in my life.
Do you ever make pizza?
I do. We actually have a pizza oven at home now. I ordered it. I love it. It's called a Gosni. And my wife's cousin, Garrett, actually studied in Italy for like almost a year. He's opened up his own pizzeria here in Orange County in Laguna. It's called Grazie Grazie.
Okay. All right.
Amazing pizza. So when you come down to sunny SoCal, we'll take you for some real bomb, authentic Italian pizza.
Oh, I love that. We'll have to do it. And if anyone out there, you're down there, make sure to go check it out. It's Grazie Grazie.
Yeah.
That's so rad. Webb, I've loved talking with you. I love learning more about you. I know our listeners are going to really appreciate the story and have a tremendous amount of respect for you, just as we have here at Swolverine. How do people find you? How do people come into the gym? Do you guys do drop-ins? Like, say somebody's like traveling to the area, or say somebody's in Newport Beach right now and they want to be a member and be a part of what you're doing and building. How do people find you, and how do they get involved?
You can come and find us just by walking in off the street if you like to. We're at 747 Dover Drive. You can find us on Instagram at TURF_NB, as in Newport Beach. You can download the TURF app, which is TURF Fitness, on the App Store. And when you download the app, you actually get your first class free. So you can go to any of our classes, from everything but the TURF Club. TURF Club is our fan favorite, where it's packed. We have like 30 to 40 people show up at 5 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
They come in ham. They are hard ass mother mofos. They want to work, and it's a fun group. And it's like circus style. You have at least 1 or 2 Olympic lifts, and then it's all accessory movements and sleds and vipers and box jumps and burpees and chaos. It's a lot of fun. It's controlled chaos. Everything but Turf Club, Hit the Turf, which is a circuit style 4-minute block station, and then everything arms. And then the newest one that's become the fan favorite is called SGT, small group training. So people that don't want to pay for a personal trainer at $100 to $150 an hour for $300 a month, you can have unlimited training programming. I do all the programming for Turf. And we're actually getting ready to launch Turf online training. That'll be coming soon in a couple months. So stay tuned for that. It'll be on Wodify. Super excited for that. You'll have all the programming already done for you, and you'll be working with one of our coaches, myself or 2 other coaches, and it's groups of 4 to 8 people every time. And this way you get the focus you need. You're still doing the proper programming, and it's periodization. So you're always progressing. It's
so cool. Oh, I mean, like, it makes me want to like just drive down and see you in 8 hours and coming in for class. I guess before I let you go, I want to talk to you. I think people hearing it from you could be really important. You coach you enable a really wide variety of athletes, individuals, people who are brand new to fitness, people who have never been in fitness, people who are scared of fitness. For the person who has never been in a gym, for the person who's never been able to apply themselves in that way or had access to it, whether they're younger or older, what are some of your, recommendations or advice to someone like that who maybe looks at, let's take the older population, for example. So they look at the new generation like, man, I wish I had that when I was younger. Man, I wish I got to apply myself that way. Man, I wish muscles were cool when I was growing up. What do you say to them? How do you encourage them to get in the gym? How do you face their fears or help them face their fears and make it happen?
I would say I help face their fear by first, it doesn't matter what age they are. I would love to have the opportunity to talk to them first to figure out their personality. Because again, I told you I have over 40 coaches. I'm really good at being a connector. Cool. I can connect people from all over the country, all over the world. Like, hey, you need help in Italy? I got a guy that knows someone. You're going to Greece? I got a guy that knows someone. New York? The point is, once I know your personality and like what your likes and dislikes are, it doesn't matter what your fitness goals are. I can pair the personalities with the personality, and that will help make it easier for them to segue into learning how to do fitness, whether it's their first time or their 100th time. Doesn't matter if they're an ex-D1 retired CrossFit athlete or they have broken shoulders, whatever. I have the coaches for you. If it's their first time and they've been a sailing athlete and they're 16 and they never lifted a dumbbell in their day in their life, I got the coach for you. I just know personalities and I know who's going to motivate and who's going to be able to have the patience to talk to them and educate them. And I think that's probably one of the coolest things about TURF is that we've attracted the right kind of coaches with the right core principles, with the right mindset, and the ability to communicate and provide to all our clients and then some.
All about it. As far as the online programming, is that something that's up and running now? Like, so let's say somebody's in Indiana and they want to work with you guys.
Yeah, it will be. We're just going. I'm getting about 6 months worth of pre-programs work written out. My buddy Clint Malwad, he's one of my head coaches. CSCS, played hockey in college, amazing athlete, very knowledgeable. Him and I are doing the program together. So we're just getting everything fine-tuned before we pull the trigger on it and have it live for everyone to download. Cool. But when you do, it'll be there for you to say. Awesome.
Yeah. And we can do like a feature on that or something, and get that out to people.
We're planning and hoping for March 1st. That's the hope.
Oh, that's like right around the corner. I'm like thinking like August.
No. Q1.
Okay. So you got that in the works for 2023. What else is going on for you guys?
We're taking over the building that's right next to my building, right next to the gym. It's currently a facial place. We're going to turn that into RX by TURF. It's going to be the recovery portion. So another one-stop shop. So we're going to have a chiropractor, physical therapist, acupuncturist, massage therapist, and esthetician. We'll still keep a little facial thing.
Might as well.
So we're going to have that. And then I'm looking potentially at a few more locations. We'll see how that works out. One in NorCal and potentially one in South County, but we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Cool. And about the area, when you say NorCal, where are you thinking? Are you thinking like Bay? Are you thinking higher? Are you thinking beach?
Monterey area.
Okay. Gotcha. That's awesome. Okay. Well, Webb, it's been an honor. I really, really appreciate you coming on. We love having your expertise and your knowledge and your story shared. For all of our listeners out there, make sure to subscribe to the Swole Friends podcast. We do live recordings just like this, like we did with Webb on YouTube, but we also post that audio so you can catch it up with it later on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as Twitch. Make sure to go follow Webb at Webb Travis PT. That is his handle on Instagram. Follow TURF. Go follow Casey. Pop in and get to know her a little better, especially if you're a female out there looking for that entrepreneurial inspiration. She's a hell of a woman. Webb, you're a hell of a man. We really, really appreciate it. And we'll catch up with you next time, okay?
I appreciate it, Alex. Thanks a lot. And thank you to your Swolverine team.
Absolutely.